Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Hitesh, and that was a horrific, nightmarish start to the season from Orlando City. And horrific and nightmarish might sound extreme words, given that that was only the first game. You know, it's a long season, it's a long way to go. Um, but that wasn't expected, at least in my opinion, and that wasn't what, as an Orlando City fan, I wanted to see after the first game, especially when we played at home. Um, the game played out. If any of you all saw my preview to the game, I think it played out exactly how I expected it to, which is, Orlando City, we dominate possession. Dominate might be a strong word also because we had 55% possession. So, in a way, we dominate possession. We were at home. I think we were favorites to win. I think we were favorites to dominate and score goals. Um, but if you all pay attention to even the most recent preseason game against Inter Miami, while we looked good going forward, we did not really look good defensively. And defensively, we always looked shaky, even in preseason. So going into this game against Philadelphia, that was one of my concerns. I think going into this season, I think a couple of questions were in my mind, and those questions are, well, one, we lost some key players. We lost Facundo Torres, right? So how are we going to cope without Facundo Torres? Who's going to step up and score goals for us, right? And the second question was, how are we going to do defensively? And even if you all pay attention last season, while we scored a lot of goals, we also conceded a lot of goals. Our goal difference was only 8 goals at the end of the season, which, interestingly enough, we finished fourth last season with a goal difference of 8 or so. Um, and Philadelphia finished in the bottom four, fourth from the bottom last season, and they had the same goal difference as us. They had a 7 or 8 goal difference as well. So going into this opening game, um, I knew it was going to be. I knew that was going to be the challenge. I knew that Philadelphia can score goals, and I knew that we can concede goals. The What I was hopeful about was, well, but we are at home, so maybe there's an advantage there for us, that maybe we can get a 2-1, and I 2-1 win. But in the back of my mind, I was always, well, if we can score 2 goals, I know we can also easily concede 2 goals. We ended up conceding 4 goals. So that was disappointing to watch. But anyway, talking about the game, um, I think tactically we set up exactly how, we looked like we would set up, exactly how we set up against Inter Miami in preseason. It was the same starting lineup, um, which is good and also concerning, also because good because I think we have a really good attacking side. I think our forwards look amazing. I think Pasalic looks really, he looks like a constant threat on the right wing, playing as an inverted winger. He scored 2 goals. He could have easily had a hat trick. Pasalic looked good. Enrique looked good as well. Pasalic looked good. Enrique looked good as well. Angulo also looked pretty good. Ojeda has been. I like Ojeda. I like his awareness. I like his passing ability. I like how he was able to pass into space for Angulo and Santos to run on the ball. Our attacking threat looked good. Even in even our defensive midfielders, even Araujo, who is so technical, looked so good on the ball. And Atuesta, um, I was really happy with the way Atuesta was linking our defense to our attack. So going forward, we looked really good. We lined up in a 4-2-3-1 shape, um, which interestingly in build up was a three at the back. And even more interestingly, I think, in the three-man defense at the back in build up, one of those defenders was Santos. So that's interesting because typically you see the defensive midfielder. I'd expect Araujo to, if you want to, if you build up in a three-man shape at the back, typically I'd expect a defensive midfielder to fall into the third man, three-man defense, and have the wing backs or full backs either overlap or underlap. Um, so that was interesting to see Santos as a third man in defense. But Santos was willing throughout the game. Like in possession, Santos's work rate is amazing. In possession, he would leave his position as the third man in defense and overlap whenever Angulo needed him to overlap. So really, Santos, really good team player. I really liked how he played. Um, but because of the way that we build up an attack, it also leaves us very open to counter attacks. So if we defend with two men at the back, and if we have our fullbacks overlap and our wingers invert, and Atuesta played really high up, that we committed so many numbers forward. We really only had Araujo and Atuesta um, to, and it makes sense because I think what we were trying to do was we were trying to play a high tempo counter attacking, not exactly counter attacking, but we want to be in their half, we want to be in their box, in their half more than we don't, you know. So we committed numbers forward, we tried to win the ball back high. We did all of those things. And I think Philadelphia were prepared for that. Philadelphia did not have too many moments in the first half, but the moments that they did have, especially in the last 15, well, last half of the first half, Philadelphia equalized, and the last 10 minutes, the last 5 to 10 minutes, they could have scored another couple of goals just before we go into halftime. So I think that was their game plan, was to counterattack. And our defending on the transitions, um, we fell back into our shape pretty fast. Like when we fall back into defending transitions, we defended in a 4-4-2 shape and then 4-5-1. I don't think we ever went to a back five. I can't remember. Against Inter Miami, on many occasions in defending, we had a back five. But I don't think against Philadelphia we had a back five. I saw a midfield five and I saw a 4-4-2. Um, so that was our plan on defending transitions. But Philadelphia just had too many good opportunities in our penalty box. It, too close to the keeper. So if they had shots from outside the box, not concerned, not concerning. Our defense is holding up well, limiting them to shots only outside the box. But the fact that Philadelphia had so many shots in the box, in dangerous positions in the box, that was concerning. So anyway, but tactics aside, if you were neutral watching the game, I think that was a really fun game to watch. Um, I think from the Orlando City team, I think quite a few players stood out, at least in my opinion. I think the players who stood out, I mentioned Pasalic, I mentioned Ojeda and Enrique Atuesta, but I want to also call out before the game in my preview. In my suggested lineup, I had mentioned Freeman over Thorhallsson. Now, Thorhallsson did well, but I think when Freeman came on, if you all take a look at even some of the highlights in the second half, Freeman's awareness of the team's positioning is really good. And Freeman is able to be patient on the ball and pick out some key passes to players in dangerous positions. Um, and his contribution in the second half, he almost got an assist and he had a couple of key passes. So I liked Freeman. He also won the ball back in the offensive third a few times for us. So Freeman came on in the second half. I think he made things happen. Muriel came on in the second half. He got an assist. He could have got a goal. Um, in the second half, after we made a couple of substitutions, we felt like we had more energy to attack with more intention and with more just be more incisive in our attacks. Um, I don't think we ever came close to. I mean, once you concede 4 goals, we gave a good fight back. We could have scored 3 goals, but I don't think we looked like we would ever equalize. Um, but I mean, but that's just how it is, right? Once you concede 4 goals, how many times are going to come back in a game where you concede 4 goals to equalize 4-4? And I think that's going to be key for us this season. Can our going forward in the season, I think a couple of questions in my mind are: can our defense get better? Can we concede fewer goals? Or if we continue to concede 2 goals, 3 goals a game, can our offense continue to bail us out, and for how long? And that's just the first team, right? Now, if any of our players get injured or uh, get red cards, get suspensions, and I think we are in 3 tournaments this season, how will all of these games impact our squad? Now, we have a few players on the bench who look really good, um, but that's going to be interesting to see this season. Overall, So if we can find a way to have a better defensive shape, win the ball back, and hold on to the ball better and build up, um, I think we should be a much better team. But all of that's easier said than done, obviously. So we'll see how the season goes. I think last season we had a really successful season. We got to the finals of the Eastern Conference. We got to the playoffs. I think getting to the playoffs is kind of expected from us, and I expect us to get to the playoffs again this season. Can we get to the finals? I would like us to get to the finals um, and win the conference finals this time. That'd be a big improvement over last season. Um, but sometimes it just flows like that. Sometimes you have a successful season, you get to the finals of the Eastern Conference. Next season, maybe you just get to the playoffs and continue to build on the team. You know, um, and it's highly likely that's how this season is gonna be. I think if we get to the playoffs this season, I think that's fine. I would still think that's a successful season. I think it'd be a disappointing season if we don't get to the playoffs. So we'll just see how it plays out. It's gonna be however this goes, however the season goes. Um, I think we can all be guaranteed an entertaining season because we will score goals. We will concede goals, but we'll also score goals. So our games should still be fun to watch for the neutrals. So if you're neutral, um, tune into our games and it's going to be fun. If you're an Orlando City fan, either way, whether you're neutral, Orlando City fan, Philadelphia fan who comes across this video, let me know your thoughts in the comments.